Littles by John Peterson. This is to Holly. Chapter 1. William T. Little and his family were tiny people. They lived in a house owned by George W. Big. Mr. Big and his family didn't know the Littles were living with them. The Littles kept out of sight. They lived in tiny rooms in walls of the house. The Littles looked almost like people you see every day, but they were very much smaller. Mr. Little was only 6 inches tall, and he was big for a little. The other Littles were even smaller. In one way, the Littles did not look at all like other people. They had tails. The Littles were proud of their tails. They kept them combed and brushed, and sometimes the women curled their tails when they wanted to look especially nice. The Littles took everything they needed from the Bigs. Usually the Bigs didn't even know anything was missing, but once in a while, Mrs. Big would say, "Now where did that thing go? I had it right here a minute ago. It seems to have disappeared." Only last week, her son Henry had shouted, "Hey, Ma! Where are my red socks? I can't find them anywhere." And of course, the Littles got their food from the Bigs. When the Bigs had roast beef for dinner, the Littles had roast beef for dinner too. The Bigs didn't know about it, but the electric socket on the kitchen counter was a secret door. As soon as the Big family were busy eating their cake or pie or jello, the Littles would jazz through the door. They would take what they needed of the leftover dinner scraps and be back through the door in seconds. The Littles helped the Bigs in return for the things they look. Only the Bigs didn't. Know it. For one thing, the Littles were good at fixing things. They ran back and forth inside the walls, repairing the electric wires whenever they needed it. The Littles were good plumbers too. On cold winter days, they kept the outside water pipes from freezing. Often they had to stay up all night keeping the pipes warm by candle fire. Mr. Big could never understand why his plumbing and electricity worked so well. "I can't believe it," he would say. "I have less trouble with this old house than my neighbors do with their brand new houses." He would shake his head. "I guess they don't make houses the way they used to." Chapter 2. One day in May, the Littles were together in their living room. 2 children, Tom, 10 years old, and Lucy, 8, were on the sofa next to their mother. Granny Little sat in her rocking chair, knitting a red sweater for Tom. "I don't know why Henry Big made such a fuss when he told his old red socks," she said. "One of them had a real bad hole in the toe." Uncle Pete, holding his crane, leaned against the fireplace. "You have enough red yarn there, Granny," he said, "to start a knitting factory." Mr. Little was walking back and forth. "Please sit down, Will," said Miss Little. You're making me nervous." "Now, there's no reason for us to be worried," said Mr. Little. "The Bigs have gone on vacation before, but never for 3 months," said Miss Little. "And what about this new family?" said Uncle Pete. "The Newcombs." He shook his cane in the air. "We don't know them. We don't have to, Uncle Pete. I keep telling you what," said Mr. Little. "If they're good enough for the Bigs, they're good enough for the Littles. Besides, they'll only be here for 3 months. We can stand anything for 3 months." "What do they want to rent a house for only 3 months?" said Tom. "Isn't that kind of silly? The Newcombs are from the city," said Mr. Little. "Sometimes city people rent houses in the country while the owners are away on vacation. It's like a vacation for city people to live in the country for a while," said Miss Little. "I don't like it," said Uncle Pete. "Suppose they bring a cat with them." Lucy Little moved closer to her mother. "Oh, Mother, suppose they bring a cat with them?" Miss Little put her arm around her daughter. Granny Little stopped rocking. Did he say they have a cat? She nodded toward Uncle Pete. No, no, said Mr. Little. He said, suppose they have a cat. Oh, said Granny Little. She started rocking again. I hope they don't bring a cat. Aw, who's afraid of an old cat? Said Tom. I wish everybody would stop talking about cats, said Lucy. I'm afraid of cats. She looked from person to person. Please, let's stop talking about cats. Chapter 3. There was a secret lookout place behind the light switch in the hall of the Biggs house. One of the screws were missing. The empty hole was large enough for Little to cook and listen through. Mr. Little spent all the next day at the lookout place. Tom Little stayed with him. They were waiting for the Newcombs. When they come, be careful of that light switch, Tom, said Mr. Little. Likely as not, the first thing they do is turn on the hall light. Sometime in the late afternoon, Mr. Little thought he heard a noise. He looked through the hole. Are they coming? Said Tom. Not yet. Hold it, Mr. Littlebeard. Mr. Little heard a key in the front door lock. Yes, here they come now. Shh. Where's the hall light, Charlie? It was a woman's voice. I'll have it, said Charles Newcomb. There were sparks inside the lookout place as the light was turned on. Tom Little jumped. His father turned from the peephole and put his finger to his lips. Shh. The bright light from the hall came through the peephole into their dark hiding place. Tom could see his father's face clearly. Mr. Little returned to the hole. What a drive, said Mrs. Newcomb. She sat down heavily on the suitcase. Give me a minute to rest and I'll help you with the rest of the bags. No need to help, Mrs. N, said Mr. Newcomb. I'll get the bags myself. No tipping, please. It's part of the service here at Big Summer Hotel. Miss Newcomb laughed. Where do you get the energy, she said. From the country, said Mr. Newcomb. I didn't realize how much I missed it. I get energy from just looking at all trees and in space. We're going to be here 3 months. Think of it. I am, said Mrs. Newcomb. I still have to get 3 meals a day. Only now it'll be a strange kitchen. Listen, Liz and Mr. Newcomb. You come here to write, and I come here to paint. Nothing else is important. Sure, Mrs. Newcomb laughed. Tell me that after eating hamburger for a week. I mean it, Liz, said Mrs. Newcomb. Forget about homework. Write those stories you want to write. As for me, he twirled around and did a little dance. This is my house. I'm fixing nothing and I'm doing nothing. If the faucets drip, let them drip. I may not even take out the garbage. You really mean it. Do you? Don't you? Said Mrs. Newcomb. Sure I do, said Mr. Newcomb. I'm here to paint masterpieces and that's what I'm going to do. And when I'm not doing that, I'm going to do nothing. I'll loaf, sit in the sun and eat. He laughed. Hamburgers, of course. Chapter 4. A week had passed. Uncle Pete thought it was a bad beginning. It looks as though Newcomb means what he says. The place is a mess since they came. He pushed his plate away and threw down his napkin. And I'm getting tired of hamburger. No matter, said Mr. Little. It'll be over one day, and the Biggs will return. No harm done. Something bad will come of it. You'll see, said Uncle Pete. Well, at least they don't have a cat, said Lucy Little. That's right, said Mrs. Little. She smiled at her family. Lucy is looking on the bright side. Things could be worse, bah, said Uncle Pete. But right now, I'd rather have trouble with a cat than eat this cooking. I suppose I should have learned to cook. said Mrs. Little. She looked around the table. Mrs. Big was a good cook. It didn't seem necessary for me to cook too. I guess she spoiled us. All the Littles nodded. Suddenly, Granny Little spoke. Watch out for the mice. Why do you say that, Granny? said Mr. Little. So there are no mice in this house. George Big was stand for it. Granny Little looked sharply at Mr. Little. There will be mice, she said. Then she straightened the shawl on her shoulders. Don't worry, Granny, said Mr. Little. You're thinking of the old days. This is nothing like the old days. Chapter 5. All day, Mrs. Newcomb worked hard at her writing. In the evening, after dinner, she read what she had written to Mr. Newcomb. They sat in the living room. Sometimes Mr. Newcomb drew pictures of his wife while she was reading. The Littles became interested in the story. They would rush through their dinner so they wouldn't miss anything. The Littles' living room was in the wall next to the Big's living room. Near the ceiling, there was a hole in the wall between the Littles' living room and the Big's living room. The hole was about a size of a quarter. On the Big's side, it was covered with wallpaper. Mr. Little had punched many tiny holes in the wallpaper. He used one of Mr. Big's needles. Voices could be heard through the tiny holes. Most of the time, the hole was plugged up with a cork on the little side. As long as the cork was in the hole, no one could hear the Littles. When the cork was taken out, the Littles would be very quiet and listen. The cork was always out when it was story time. Mrs. Newcomb's soft voice was flew up through the hole. The Littles sat comfortably in their favorite chairs and listened. Sometimes Mrs. Newcomb read until it was past Lucy and Tom's bedtime. They would beg their mother to be allowed to stay up until the story was finished. Uncle Pete liked the readings. Wonderful story, he said. Very exciting. Still, he wasn't happy with the Newcombs. The bad housekeeping worries me. It worries me. The Newcombs were indeed bad house keepers. Food was left around covered. Food was not swept after meals. Garbage spilled out the can. When the lid fell off, it wasn't put back on. All those crumbs, mark my words, Granny said. There will be mice. One day in June, Mr. Little rushed into the living room. He slammed the door behind him. Granny was right, he said. I've been hoping it wouldn't happen, but it has. They've come. The mice are here. What can we do? Said Mrs. Little. She locked the doors behind her husband. First, you, Tom, see that the doors are locked, said Mr. Little. Tom ran to do as he was told. Mr. Little went quickly to the sofa. He pulled a chest out from under it. Don't go out alone, he said. Go armed at all times. Mr. Little opened the chest. He looked at his wife. Who would think that this generation of Littles would have to open this weapon's chest? Mrs. Little shook her head sadly. But father, said Lucy, I don't know how to use a bow and arrow. Uncle Pete will teach you, and Tom how to shoot, said Mr. Little. He was a crack shot during the mice invasion of 35. Uncle Pete, my father, and their brothers held off the mice from this very room until the help arrived from the smalls down the road. That's when I got this limp, said Uncle Pete. A huge 3-inch mouse broke through the door and grabbed me by the foot. He dragged me out of the room. My brother Tim, God bless him, came after me and shot him. Is that when Uncle Tim lost his life? Said Tom. That's when it happened, said Uncle Pete. One of those big mice jumped jumped him from behind. I usually chased it off with my knife, but it was too late. Uncle Pete wiped his hands. Poor Tim. He was the only little we lost in that terrible year. We won't go looking for trouble with the mice, said Mr. Little. These weapons are for protection only. He brought out a bow with a quiver of arrows from the chest. On the wooden bow was carved, made in 1825 by Chas B. Little. Suppose they come after us, said Tom. He picked up the bow and tried to put the string on it. But maybe it won't, said Mr. Little, as long as there's plenty to eat. I'm for going out and attacking them, said Uncle Pete. Teach them a lesson before they start to bother us. That's the way I figure it, said Mr. Little. After a while, the Newcombs were bound to find out they have mice. When they do, they'll set traps and they'll be the end of it. Chapter 6. Every night for a week, Mr. Little and Tom watched the Newcombs at dinner time. Mr. Little wanted to find out if the Newcombs had seen the mice and what, if anything, that they were doing to get rid of them. Tom and his father hid high above the dinner table in a secret lookout place near the ceiling light. They could see everything that went on in the room. Below them, the Newcombs were finishing their dinner. I saw a hummingbird outside the study window today, said Mrs. Newcomb. It was feeding on the iris. Marvelous, said Mr. Newcomb. Would you mind passing the butter? That's a rare thing to see. You know they're so tiny and timid. And fast, said Mrs. Newcomb. I moved closer to the window for a better look, and it was gone in a flash. Mr. Newcomb sipped his coffee. Dear, don't you think? This coffee is a bit weak again. Mrs. Newcomb nodded. What's the bird that sounds like a rusty iron gate? Above them, the Littles listened. The Newcombs talked about many things, but as usual, neither one said anything about the mice. Let's go, said Mr. Little to Tom. They haven't seen the mice. Father and son climbed out of the lookout place. They walked across the ceiling between the rafters. Both were armed. Tom was carrying a bow and a quiver full of arrows. Mr. Little had a sword. He was carrying a light candle. What can he do? Said Tom. The Newcombs see birds everywhere outside the house, but inside, where the mice are, they never see anything. Are they blind or something? Mr. Little sighed. I don't know, he said. Mice are quick animals. They're not easy to see, and they usually do most of their work when people are not around. Hey, I have an idea, said Tom Little. I know how we can get them to see the mice. How? It's easy. We can just then Tom's father stopped. Tom, following close behind, bumped into him. The candle fell out of Mr. Little's hand and went out. Mr. Little reached for his sword. Is it a mouse? Whispered Tom. Shh, quietly. Tom took an arrow and fitted it to the bowstring. There was a scratching noise in the wall ahead. Mr. Little and Tom stood and tried to see into the blackness. They listened. When Mr. Little had heard enough to know it was a mouse, he whispered to Tom, I'll stand here. You hide behind the heating pipe. As soon as the mouse reaches the top of the wall, I'll light a match. He took a deep breath. If he runs to attack me, shoot him with your bow and arrow. Don't shoot unless he attacks. The light may frighten him away. What if I miss? Said Tom. I'll have the sword, said Mr. Little. The mouse will have to get awfully close for you to use the sword, said Tom. That's why you'd better not miss with the arrow, said Mr. Little. Now go. Tom Little felt his way through the dark. ceiling space to the pipe. He drew the arrow across the bow and pulled the string back with all his might. Then he aimed into the darkness toward the sound of the scratching. The noise grew louder and louder from the sound of it. Tom thought the mouse was climbing near the little tin can elevator. He hoped the mouse hadn't gnawed through the string. The boy had never seen a mouse, he had, of course, heard many scary stories about them. He was ready for something terrible. Suddenly, there was a burst of blinding white light. His father's match! Shadows danced. Tom Little blinked. Then he saw the mouse. It was climbing up over the edge of the wall. Its eyes were like black mirrors, shining back the light of the match. Tom forgot what his father had told him. He didn't want for the mouse to attack. Instead, as soon as he saw the beast, he shot the arrow. It flew through the air and struck the mouse in the foreleg. The mouse squealed. Nuts, yelled Tom. I forgot. He shot another arrow. By that time, the mouse had climbed over the wall, and it struggled to its feet. The second arrow hit in the rump. It squealed louder. The arrows didn't stop the mouse. It crawled toward the light. A low, snarling growl came from deep in throat. Mr. Little stood his ground in the middle of the ceiling space 4 feet away from the oncoming mouse. In one hand, he held the sword at arm's length, pointed at the mouse. In the other, he held the burning match high over his head like a torch. Then he lowered the match torch and pointed it at the mouse. Suddenly, the mouse turned and limped away. Let's stop there at chapter 7. We'll just read later.